don't care for potpourri. It gives me, especially cinnamon, it'll give me a headache. Well, I agree. I mean, the cinnamon sticks cooking over an apple or whatever they cook over the stove, but it gives me a headache. I'm not a big clone fan or anything else. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to what is today, the 20th? 21st. Okay, May the 21st work session for our meeting next week, which just for the records will be next Tuesday at 9:30. My memory serves me correct, so make sure you make that adjustment in your schedule. Okay, do we have any speakers?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, you do have a speaker. You have Matthew Barcliff.
Oh, welcome, Matthew.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I wanted to come and give you a briefing and an opportunity to ask any questions about, we've been advertising, and on the agenda for Tuesday will be a public hearing and adoption of the flood damage prevention ordinance. It's the model ordinance. It's being adopted to better mirror other jurisdictions. It was requested by FEMA at a community assistance visit about a year and a half ago for us to adopt the model ordinance. There are some updates to some definitions in there, but the baseline requirements are more or less the same because they're the baseline requirements set by the National Flood Insurance Program. There's some definitions that are updated, not a big deal. The new maps will be updated by reference in that, even though our current ordinance allows us to use the new maps, and in fact requires us to use the new maps when they're published, this will actually incorporate them by reference. It will update to match our adopted building codes that we adopted late last year. The biggest change is that currently in our coastal environment we require 2 feet of freeboard, 2 feet above the base flood elevation for your lowest living level. And in the interior areas, interior floodplains, we require 1 foot. I've had more complaints about being able to distinguish between the difference than I have about having the freeboard requirement. So for simplification purposes, we've increased the freeboard to 2 feet across the entire county. It should be a very marginal cost for anybody who is building. We are incorporating some MS4 requirements, and there are a few affidavits that are being added just so people are acknowledged that they can't make any improvements below the BFE without getting a permit and without following the federal floodplain guidelines. But again, there'll be a public hearing on Monday. I haven't gotten any input. I have not received any comments from anyone. We've been looking at the ordinance on and off for about 2 years since the new maps came out in November of 2017. And so, as you know, Commissioner Carl, you and Commissioner Hudson, we've received several pieces of correspondence from FEMA reminding us to update the ordinance by June 5th to continue our membership in the National Flood Insurance Program.
Have you made any preparation with the contractors to make sure they're aware of it?
Yes, sir. We've published it, and we've been, everybody for 2 years that's been coming in, we've been updating them that say, hey, these are coming, these things are coming.
But the Home Builders Association, have we sent them notices and made an effort to educate them?
I have not sent notices to the Home Builders Association, no, sir.
Have we reached out to the Home Builders Association?
Some time ago, but not since we started advertising this.
Okay.
I will do that before Monday.
Were there any comments from them? Do you think they're anticipating this after your initial outreach with them?
Most of them are anticipating this because of the big outreach we did in 2017 when the new maps came out. They had a more significant impact than the adoption of the updated ordinance will. And so They are already building to the new BFEs.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So when we did our community meetings and received feedback, did we get any changes in the maps as a result of feedback we may have shared with FEMA when we were doing our town hall meetings?
No, ma'am. We received very little feedback other than they didn't like it, and there were no changes that had any scientific or error mathematical errors that would have changed the maps.
Okay.
The FEMA did a review, and they had a consultant go through the maps, and they found some minor errors. And so that's part of the reason the delay came in implementing the maps is they had to re-advertise and reopen the comment period after they had made some adjustments to 3 or 4 panels in the maps.
Okay, thank you.
Will this help people with their flood insurance?
This is the first step to helping people with their flood insurance. The community assistance visit wanted us to adopt this new ordinance, and having a clean community assistance visit is the first step in joining the community rating system, which would provide discounts. When we join that, it will provide discounts to people who have flood insurance through the NFIP.
Okay. What comes first, the chicken or the eggs?
Always the question.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other speakers?
There are no other speakers, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Glenn, you want to get started?
Yes, Commissioner. Number 1, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 11, 2020. Number 2, approve a list of claims. Number 3, hold a public hearing so any citizen of the county shall be given an opportunity to be heard. Number 4, hold a public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding proposed substantial amendment to the Mobile County Citizens Participation Plan as updated in conformity with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Number 5.
Can I make a suggestion that you move that other public hearing from, on the flood maps, just move it up here when we get there, when you do the final agenda, to put all the public hearings together?
Oh, okay. All right. Number 5, authorize amending the Mobile County Citizen Participation Plan as previously adopted on March 11, 2002, in conformity with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Number 6, authorize adoption and submission of the 2020 through 2024 5-year consolidated plan, 2020 Year 1 action plan, and the analysis of the impediments to fair housing choice to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to include execution of all documents required for submission by the President of the Commission. Number 7, approve amending 2019 capital improvement plan to increase the estimated cost of the following project: renovation and ADA upgrades of Clayton Park, $22,000. This amendment increases the estimated cost of the project by $22,000 and decreases District 1 unnamed projects by $22,000.
I think there should be decreases instead of deceases. I got enough projects that dead in the water without.
Where's this park at? I know I asked you that once.
It's in Citronelle.
Citronelle, okay.
We'll make that change, Commissioner. Sorry about that. Number 8, approve list of credits, insolvents, and litigations for the Revenue Commissioner's Office for the 2019 tax year. Number 9, adopt a resolution authorizing requests of the Revenue Commissioner's Office to dispose of certain items. Number 10, consider taking the following action on bids. Number 11, consider approving amendment of the signed location lease with Lamar Companies relating to billboards on county property at Michael Square to change rental payments from annual to monthly installments. Number 12, approve amending sponsorship agreement with South Alabama Jag Gals approved at the February 26, 2020 meeting, agenda item number 14, to change the use of the funds to funds will be used for its 2020 football social fundraiser. Number 13, approve rejecting all bids and authorize advertisement to rebid project ADA upgrades at various buildings. Number 14, approve awarding bid to Acre Construction Corp. renovation with ADA upgrades for Clayton Park for a total bid of $737,000. Number 15, approve awarding bid to Ben M. Ratcliffe Contractor, Inc., addition to the Mobile County Metro Jail for a total bid of $13,891,771. Number 16, consider approving third amendment of the infectious disease and pandemic policy so as to rescind level 2 payment for employees whose work responsibilities require public contact of 1 1/10 times their regular pay of pay for days on which the public contact occurred, so as to provide commission discretion in determining employees' classification of employees and amount of increased pay for specific epidemic, pandemic events, and make other changes for purposes of clarification effective May 22nd, 2020.
1 second, is this the one, the policy that we had I had the questions about wearing the mask?
No, that was the resumption plans.
Is it in the agenda?
It's not in the agenda.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Because I looked for it this morning, I couldn't find it. That's why I was asking if I missed it somewhere. Okay, thank
It
you.
was just a process and procedure.
Okay.
And Commissioner, on 16 and 17, we're going to change the wording in order to recoup costs. The CARES Act wants to see the word hazard, so we're going to put hazard/pandemic pay.
That's it, right now.
Address your and Donna's concern,
Is he talking to me?
or either one of y'all, or Donna, you heard me. Or Glenn's
What was
comment.
the question? I'm sorry.
We're gonna add the word pandemic to it. Hazardous.
Slash pandemic
Right.
pay instead of just saying increase in pay. A temporary increase in pay would be a temporary
That was good.
hazard slash pandemic pay.
Does that solve your concern, Martha, that you just texted me about?
Does that resolve your?
Yes.
That's 16 and 17? Or just 16?
17?
Both, right, Glenn?
Both? Okay.
Both, Glenn? Mr. Hodge, would
Well,
it
it
be
just
both?
says pay and
Donna, should it be 16
16.
and 17, add the language?
Yeah, yes.
We need to hold 17 till the end of the meeting.
So may I make one other comment, Mr. Hodge, about this?
yes.
So if we make it effective May 22nd, there is the approval by the Personnel Board, which I am told this morning is not certain. Their next meeting is on the 2nd of June, and this matter would be added to that agenda if asked by the county commissioner or administrator. But in talking with their counsel this morning, I'm told it's discretionary with the board to make it effective tomorrow. We may have to go back, as we did a few weeks ago, and explain our position.
Well, I think that's not a problem. We can certainly do that, but they were respectful of our request
Yes,
to
ma'am.
attach the effective date before, so hopefully they will follow suit and be respectful once again.
I reminded them of that, so we'll have to perhaps be there on the June 2nd meeting.
But do we need to vote today, or should we wait till Tuesday?
Well, if you want to do it for tomorrow, then you would say yes.
We would need to vote today.
If that's what the commission wants to do, and if Personnel Board says yes, we're good. Personnel Board says no, then we'll have to deal with that.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 16 and 17.
Okay, number 17,
It has old language in number 17, and I'm trying to pull up the new language. It just didn't make it to the agenda, and we didn't see the agenda till today. Till like 15 minutes ago. So I'm going to run to my office and ask you to hold, is it number 17?
yes.
Should we make it contingent on final legal approval?
Let's do that.
Would that be okay?
The only concern I have is that it is somewhat misleading, the way it's written.
It does not specify the agenda item, the resolution specifies specifically who those employees are that are considered at high risk, where this item doesn't, so I don't know. That's the problem.
Well, how should we couch this to make sure we address that concern so that we can go ahead and
I'd
approve
like
it?
to run upstairs and get on my computer, I just can't pull it all up on the phone, and then
That-
run downstairs after the agenda, the engineering agenda, and bring that item back up.
Well, let's put number 16 and 17 on hold to the end of the meeting, if that's
Ma-
okay.
Martha, if you're going to fix 16, would you, where it says rescind level 2 payment for employees, change the location, make it rescind level 2 payment of 1 1/10 times their regular rate of pay for days for employees. That phrase is out of place. It should be right behind payment.
For rate of pay for employees?
Where it says of 1, just move it up right behind payment. You see
Okay.
the phrase, just move it behind payment. It doesn't change, it just, the placement of it
Payment of
has it a little bit, makes the sentence
1/110
awkward.
times a regular rate of pay.
Okay, and we're talking about just Strickland and Metro Jail, right?
Employees.
Yes.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah. It reads, it flows better.
It includes the employees, anybody that works in there.
So
Yeah,
we're
we
going to
good?
hold those two.
We're gonna hold those, and Mark's gonna make a change to bring it back.
Okay.
All right, Glenn?
Okay, number 18, consider approving purchase of DocuSign subscription at a cost in the amount of $10,730.57 as shown on DocuSign government price quotation.
And what exactly is this DocuSign? It's just a,
Streamlines the signatures on contracts and documents. You're able to send it through email.
okay,
Once I receive it, I just push a button, my signature appears on the document, then we send it to the next person. So it keeps it going,
okay.
and you,
And you dispense with the paper movement of the, it dispenses with the movement of the paper from A to B to C.
So that means we will
Fairly
not have
common in the real estate industry right now, and
so the
recently in the
commissioners won't
lawyer
have to
business,
sign
too.
off on everything like we have been?
Not so fast.
Yeah, that's what I was
They
getting
need
at.
original signatures on something.
Yeah, okay, all right,
But it'd help a lot, I think.
it will.
okay.
Okay, number 19, approve change order number 1 with Dortch Figures and Sons, Inc., Metro Jail plumbing repairs. If implemented, the change will decrease the contract by $21,952.12. The new contract will total will be $196,557.48.
Is that the grinder pump they're adding in?
I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
Is that, no, well, it doesn't matter, we're still gonna work with them, but I was wondering if it was that grinder pump that they wanted to add on to the sewer line. That's okay. I can answer my own
That's
question
interesting,
later.
there's no 19 in the book, unless I'm looking at the wrong book. Let's see.
Tyler's here if you need to have a question.
Commissioner, on that plumbing item, that was changes we made to implement vandal-proof electronic flush valves.
Ah. So, hands-free, other words?
Well, they're electronic buttons that can't be destroyed.
Huh.
And instead of
In a
inmate
jail,
being able
they can
to,
destroy them.
instead of an inmate being able to continuously flush the commode or stuff something, more specifically stuff something
Yeah.
in the commode and then flushing it, it only allows one flush every so many minutes.
Wow, okay.
So, okay,
Can you put those in my house?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, Glenn?
I stifled myself.
I was waiting for the question.
Number 20, consider adopting a resolution authorizing relocation of the following polling sites for the following precincts.
And I think we had some add-ons here, and we possibly may have some more add-ons by Tuesday. I know we're still making some phone calls. Commissioner, you did talk with the superintendent.
Yeah, this is schools.
Okay,
Most of
okay.
this is schools.
Well, I
That's
had
fine.
one church that I was responsible for, and it looks like they took care of the second one themselves. So maybe we'll be able to pull this off after all. I want to make real sure that if, I don't know whose responsibility it is, but we've got to mark these polling sites that have been moved. I know Glenn and I have talked about that, and I'm not talking about a little 2x2 signs that says polling site's been moved from point A to point B. I'm talking about something large, not expensive. You know, it's probably, I've bought enough signs lately, you're probably talking about $25 for a 4x4 and a couple of wires, and tell them where these polling sites have moved to, because that's always lights our phone up when we move a polling site. People calling wanting to know why they can't vote where they used to vote. And we have to explain it's been moved, and sometimes it's after the fact. So let's go above and beyond where we've moved it to with signage. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the questions that was raised by Judge Davis in one of his emails was something about whether we wanted postcards, and I would think that we do,
I would think so.
so that people will know.
Yeah, I have Darren looking into that right now, Commissioner.
Okay.
And Darren just stepped in the room.
And they're gonna get the cards and say they never got them. I mean, that happens
Yeah.
all the time, but at least I would think we'd want to make the effort.
Make our best effort,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I want to say thank you to Darren and all of the people working with him and his team, and they're working with our probate elections. This has been a monumental task. I know, just going out to measure these precincts to determine what sort of proximity restrictions might have to be implemented. That was a huge job just in itself. And so thank you for the job that you are all doing. Just know how much we appreciate it, and it just has to be done. We understand.
Plenty thanks goes to Max as well.
Max.
Well, and I think I speak for all the candidates that'll be on that ballot. Thank you, because it will, all of our voters as a whole will feel a little more comfortable getting back out, and we need to get people back out. I mean, that's in a safe manner, and I think y'all have gone above and beyond that. And I know we're still working on some stuff, and we will probably continue to work on the stuff as county commission right up to the very end. But I'm feeling very good about it. I really had some questions 30 days ago, but I'm beginning to feel good about it now. A much better turnout than what I thought we would have 30 days ago. So anyway, thank you.
Give Max a virtual pat on the back. I know you're going to keep your distance.
Okay.
Number 21, consider approving the purchase of approximately 21 acres of real property located at 15650 Moffett Road for the purchase price of $165,000 to be utilized as part of the Escatawba Hollow Park and Campground, and to authorize the County Commission President to sign the real estate purchase and sale agreement and other such documents subject to legal review.
Is this Go Mesa? We doing Go Mesa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this one may be a little on the premature side. Where do you think? Should we hold off on this?
No, I think we should proceed, and we'll see where we are on Tuesday, since you and I talked this morning.
There's a couple of issues that came up.
There's been some additional information provided to the title company as to the title. There might be some title issues, and clearly
No.
we'll do it.
Well, at least you'll be able to strike.
Every parcel's had problems.
Yeah, you'll be able to strike when the iron is hot. If we go ahead and vote on it.
This is true.
Yeah, you'll have the
This is true.
authority to go ahead and move before they change their mind again.
Amen.
So we'll just leave it if we can.
Okay.
Commissioner, we have one add-on. Number 1, approved contract with the City of Chickasaw in the amount of $35,000 from District 1 funds for the repairs to the, was that
Baratara,
Excuse me?
Baratara.
Baratara Bridge.
There are a lot of Native American names in Chickasaw. So.
Okay.
Thus Chickasaw.
And Commissioner, we will have another agenda item that Finance will be putting on. Dana's going to explain. It's going to be a funding account for the COVID-19 expenses. You want to explain?
We also have one about 2 more precincts. You didn't get the memo?
Oh, well, yeah, there'll be changes.
They'll just be added
Yeah,
to that
yeah.
other
2
list.
more sites.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
the court system when you're ready.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you know, the county's incurred a lot of COVID-19 expenses. Currently, we're paying those out of the general fund. To date, we spent approximately $350,000 in just masks, various other COVID-19 related expenses, and that doesn't include payroll. So total payroll through last pay period based on COVID-19 payroll related expenditures is approximately $1.4 million. That includes the base payroll COVID-19 expenses of $1.2 million, and then we add on the Social Security, Medicare, and pension contributions. So what I'm asking is that we allocate, what I'm having to do is just, kind of piecemeal this money from various people's budgets so we could account for it in a COVID-19 expense, because we do need to track them. And I'm asking that we appropriate $350,000 from carry forward to handle any other COVID-19 expenses, but in addition to that, there's going to be some requests from the court, I think, that are coming up, and then I think Strickland's coming up with some requests, and so we just want to kind of not have to come every single time we know we're going to put this stuff out, get some quotes, and just, we're not quite sure of the amount, and then we also have the cleaning that we're going to have to do that we're going to try to figure out how much that's going to cost. So that's a good little baseline number, and of course, if I need any extra money, I'll come to you, but we're in a good position with carry forward, so I'm requesting $350,000 to be appropriated.
And by the same token, if all of that is not spent, it stays in carry forward.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hey, can I ask you a question? And I don't have a problem with that, but while we've got you standing at the mic, we're going to receive some of that CARE Act money as far as the county. Do we have any idea how much and what limitations we have on how to spend it?
Glenn, do you have information on the CARE Act? More
There
specific
is a set of
information?
guidelines
There
that
are
the state
guidelines
uses.
for it.
And Commissioner, I've been in touch with ACCA. They're trying to come up with a process on how how some of that money is going to come down from the state. I don't have the details on it yet, but as soon as I get it, I'll send it to all three commissioners.
Are we talking about a few $100,000, or are we talking about a few million?
The numbers that I saw when we first received the chart, I was thinking, Glenn, that it said it broke it out by county. I thought it was like 30 million, 29 to 30 million.
Yeah, well, that's what
Is that
I've
your
been quoting.
recollection?
That's what I've been quoting, 20-something.
Exact.
Yeah, I believe it's in the $29 and $30 million range when we first received the amount that was going to be given to the state and a formulary. Can't quite remember what that formulary was. And I think they used the Simplified Seller's Use Tax formulary as a base, but of course that'd have to be approved by the legislature and the state. So that was just a general
Approved by the
guesstimate.
legislature as in next spring?
No,
No,
is it
was already
legislature?
approved.
Oh, it's already approved?
It's already approved? The formula's approved as well?
Is this the 1.8 billion we're talking about that's coming?
That's what I'm thinking. Correct, Glenn? The 1.8 CARES Act that goes
Because
to the counties.
according to the governor's amendment to that resolution, that money was broken down in different categories.
Right.
And the money that comes to local governments was, I don't know, it was somewhere in the range of maybe 300 million, but that's got to be spread out,
divvied up.
Exactly.
divvied out among all the counties.
And that's what they're working on.
I'd have to look back, but it is broken down that way.
And I'll get you the last information I received when it first came out. I know we're relying on ACCA. They're providing us guidance. They're steadily asking for information. My staff and I provided Glenn with some information, expenditure information this week. And so I'll get the latest email I received when it initially discussed the possible disbursement per county based on a formula that I don't know if it's been
Hasn't been decided yet.
decided yet.
In your interpretation, how can we spend it?
It's really dependent on how the state dictates us to spend it. I think currently you can't use it to replace revenue. You can't use it to replace expenses that were budgeted. So all the COVID-19 expenses are going to be unbudgeted. So all of our payroll expenses, I'm thinking, will get reimbursed for. Of course, all the supplies, any of these additions that I'm thinking we're doing. And I'll look through the guidance and email you a more definitive list. But my understanding is that the county should be reimbursed for any COVID-19 related expenses.
Well,
and the main ones for us are going to be, obviously payroll and all of the, COVID-19 preventative supplies that we've purchased, which
Well, I'm
growing.
also looking at some proactive, measures that we're going to have to do something. I'm
Right.
just curious if we can use it in a proactive way.
Right. I'm going to get that information for you today and email it to all three.
Okay. All right.
Dana, I was on a call where they were talking about the money, election-related funds, COVID-19/election expenditures. I think they have like a June submission deadline for reimbursement for those.
Yes, I was on a ACCA call in reference to that, and I guess Eddie and I were speaking about that yesterday. My understanding is that the probate judge, Eddie, is getting that together, but then I was also on an ACCA call where it says that the submission should come from the commission, but I'll defer to Eddie on that.
Yeah, I think the submission has to come from us, and we need to make sure that our probate judge is not the chair of commission like he is in other places, so he will have information that needs to go in there, but I think we are the county is the submitter. But I just didn't want that June date, because it sounded like it was kind of early in June, or early to mid-June.
Yeah, that's our understanding too, and we're going to work with probate. We know they're getting their expenses together for the purposes of submitting it, and Dana and I both think that's on the county's responsibility to do so, and we're going to work with them. Back on the other subject, the problem is there's several pots of money going right now, and
Deja vu all over again.
it's the rules are changing on who dispenses the money, who has control over it, and we're trying to work through that, but no reimbursement is certain at this point. And Dana and I are discussing and considering that as we work through these issues. I've also been working with Tina Sanchez on, she feels strongly that we need to consider getting a consultant on board that helps us navigate all the different pots of money so we don't leave any opportunities that we don't go after. So we'll be talking to you between now and the next commission meeting cycle about pursuing that. There are some people that on a national level are up to date with the various pots of money and the political winds that come along with how that will be distributed, and I think we need to consider that and get a consultant on board. For some of the pots of money, the administration, the fee that the consultant would charge would even be paid out of the money that's provided. So in some cases, it won't even be an expense to the county, depending on what pot of money we ultimately try to go after. So.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Engineering.
Before we get to that, do we want to,
Yes.
Mr. Hodges, before we get to engineering, do we want to talk about the request of the 13th Judicial Circuit presiding judge? Is that appropriate time, or should we wait?
This will be appropriate time, but are we going to also include the emergency?
Well, that's part of it, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll start it.
Do you have a microphone?
Yeah, I do. Ricky's controlling it, so that's why he's give me a well-deserved hard time, Mr. Mitchell. I deserve all I get from him and his Mr. Kegley over here.
I love it.
So, Commissioners, as you know, the 13th Judicial Presiding Judge, Judge Young Peter, asked for a meeting with the staff yesterday, which included Judge Hambright and Judge Lockett. They are concerned about, well, the decision, as you know, has been made to open up the courthouse for judicial functions, North Tower, starting on June the 12th. No jury trials at least until mid-September, maybe later. There's concern about capacity in the courtrooms, the elevator situation. So what they've asked us for, if we would advance them money, approximately $75,000, that number could change, to pay for sneeze guards and related PPE type materials in all of the district and circuit court and juvenile courtrooms, excluding Mobile Municipal Court. They've gotten some prices, the aggregate of which, except for the Bay Hayes building, single courtroom is in the ballpark of $75,000. We discussed with them the issue of bidding, the shortness of the bid, the emergency situations regarding it. Staff with Mr. Hodge and Eddie and Tyler and Dana and others had a meeting this morning at 9. The recommendation seems to be from collectively the staff is that the commission consider declaring an emergency with regard to the court system, which would allow us to shorten the bid time. We would take bids from anybody interested that met the criteria. Hopefully we could have that back Tuesday morning. Of course, Monday is a federal holiday, and we would let Tyler and his team determine what the lowest responsive and responsible bidder would be based on the emergency declaration. We have a reasonably complete set of specs to it. This would be a job that we would have the vendor come in and make the material and install it. Judge Young-Peter represents to all of us that AOC will reimburse. There's probably, he said, high 90s chance of a reimbursement. I see some of the body language, but I've not been talking to AOC, and if they feel that they'll reimburse it, and they would reimburse us for that upon their receipt of it, they're without funds to do that. In addition to that, not part of the emergency, they've also asked us to consider allowing some use of the room behind us, the larger of the two, for some district court, non-jury eviction and small claims type civil proceedings on a schedule that would work around ours and whatever we do with the city, and perhaps use the multi-purpose room on some occasions for some stuff as well. In addition, Judge Hambright says she has spoken with the city, particularly with the mayor, and they're going to make much enhanced use of the auditorium, expo hall, and try to keep people from coming in to the courthouse as much as it has been. As Commissioner Ludgood would know, and lawyers, the days of the cattle call dockets are largely over, at least for the foreseeable future. What that means is if you've got 50 or 100 cases on the docket that day, everybody comes and waits until their time is called, and that's not likely to happen much for the foreseeable future.
Just make sure I understand. The use of our additional rooms here, this would be by scheduled appointment to do that? This was
Yes.
this is not come in, take over, continuous use,
That is
right?
my understanding. It won't be
Short
coming
term.
and take over. They may want to make
Well,
some
short term.
changes to the room for where the judge and his judicial, or her judicial assistants sit, and number of chairs, but it won't be we're told it won't be a wholesale
Okay.
takeover.
Because in what they may have to work around, there are plans and have been for quite some time to come in and do some work on those rooms.
Right.
And so,
that did
we
not
wouldn't want
come
to
up
delay
in
that indefinitely.
Yeah, that did not come up in discussion, but they seem most willing to, they have no choice, but they seem most willing to work with us. But the emergency resolution would be to declare an emergency based on the COVID-19 and the fact that the Mobile County Courthouse, and based on the order from the Alabama Supreme Court, which opened courts this past Monday, each presiding judge for each judicial circuit could determine how he or she should open courts in each of the judicial circuits. So Judge Young-Peters decided that June 12th is the day, not this past Monday. And since Mobile Municipal Court is housed in Government Plaza, that's why Mobile Municipal Court won't start up, at least here, until June 12th, rather.
These items that they're requesting funding for, is the county handling that for them, or are they handling it?
No, the ask is, and if I say this wrong, Eddie or Glenn with two N's, that we will do it, we'll handle it, we'll procure the bid, we'll execute the documents, we'll write the check, we will see that it is properly installed as best we can in the time frame that we have. Then we would provide the cost bill and the invoicing to Judge Youngpeter, who would submit that to AOC for reimbursement.
If for some reason they're not reimbursed, could we add this or take this out of our CARE Act money that we have coming in? Could we use it for that?
I don't think so, yes.
Yeah.
But for COVID-19, they would not be asking us for this.
Okay.
So,
Obviously, I'll support them on that, but I think the word temporary should be added in there somewhere. 'Cause
for what?
For the use of these rooms.
Yeah, I don't know that the
Excuse me,
resolution that we
Commissioner.
need today
Excuse me.
needs to deal with the courtrooms for
Okay.
this proceeding. Today, I think our ask is just for the commission to consider the adoption of an emergency resolution based on COVID-19. Martha has done a good job preparing a detailed review of it, or the details of it. Our hope is that this afternoon we could circulate the requirements to as many bidders that wish to bid on it, with a return date at 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, and then staff could evaluate it, hopefully between 8 and 10, and bring to the commission a bidder that appears to be responsive and responsible under the emergency declaration, so that at 10 o'clock we would know or 9:30 Tuesday morning, know who the bidder is, and could arguably award at that time, because the judges reached out on their own to a local entity, and they need close to 3 weeks to turn it around, and if we don't award it until Tuesday, we won't have that much time, but we'll do the best we can. The three judges well understand the bid law, and we've talked about it, so I think
Do they feel comfortable with us doing it this way?
they've asked us to do it this way. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So what are we trying to, you need a,
We need a motion to
I think
approve an
Nina had a
emergency.
comment.
Say
Just trying
something,
to
excuse me.
Flag us up there.
Commissioners, as far as the room reservations, would you please consider a lot of the city and county offices, because of social distancing, they've been utilizing our other rooms, like our multipurpose room, our commission conference chambers, our blue room. So please take that into consideration as far as just giving them permission to have those rooms. I understand the need for, but other offices need that space as well.
Right, I think they need to schedule with
What if we
advance
vet
notice.
through that a little bit more, and we'll bring that to the commission for consideration no sooner than Tuesday, and Glenn and I, or some combination thereof, can work with them so they better understand the needs and demands on the room. And
is there a reason the ceremonial courtroom is not a part of the,
that is a good question, and that did not come up, and I will ask that. That's a great idea, because I don't know.
And that's one room we rarely use, so that would be much better. Good thinking.
It is good thinking. I'll
every
make that
once in a
one.
while?
Are they going to use that as well?
I did ask that question, and
I must have missed that.
I asked Chief Doobie, why aren't
Okay.
they using it? And he said they are going to use it.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that in
maybe the
addition.
listing for their own proposals of
It'll spread out
58,000 may include sneeze guards for the ceremonial courtroom. I don't know, but we will be sure to clarify that with
In the
the commission.
75,000, are we taking care of Judge Naaman Strickland Youth
That
Center
would be,
also?
the estimate, not subject to bidding, includes Judge Naaman's request. We got a request from him or his team earlier this week, and that was around $17,000-ish. We heard it could be less, but we haven't seen that. So this bid, as best we can put it together today, will include what Judge Naaman needs at his facility for 4 courtrooms, and the courtrooms here in Government Plaza. I will mention our staff discussion this morning. The query came up, what about the Bay Hayes building? I've not heard of any discussions about that, but we'll check on that today as well.
So what would you like for us to vote on today?
What I'd like y'all to consider today is an emergency resolution based on COVID-19 that allows emergency for the purposes to dispense with the formalities of the bid law and to take bids for courtrooms at Government Plaza, Strickland Youth Center, for splash guards, with a response time to be at 8 o'clock next Tuesday morning, so staff can have time to evaluate it and make a proposal to the commission at 9:30.
So your resolution doesn't say dispense with the form, it says suspend.
So it will say suspend with the formalities of a normal bid process in order to facilitate the emergency-ness of it. We're
Okay.
trying to parallel
Okay.
what we do
I'm
in
good. I'm
a
good.
I'll
hurricane
adopt
or
an
other natural
emergency.
disaster.
Second.
We'll get the
Resolution.
writing to you a bit later. Thank
It's-
y'all.
It passed.
Great. Well, that's all I have.
Take his mic, pull his mic back.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So it's right now?
All right, let's hold this to the very end.
Okay.
Okay. Brian? Let's get going. Maybe you won't be quite as complicated, huh?
Ours won't be near as complicated.
Yeah, boy, I like that.
We
Until
know.
Jay
Remember,
pipes
Jay's
up.
getting paid by the hour, so let's keep him moving.
At least it's not by the word, we'd be in trouble.
Very
We
good.
let our
Item
hair
number
down when
one,
nobody said.
recommend authorizing
nice.
the acquisition of the properties listed. One of those, commissioners, is that Old Shell Road excess right-of-way that adjacent to the Chickasaw Park from the state. Shelton Beach Road, yeah, Old Shelton Beach.
Old Shelton Beach.
Old Shelton Beach, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, item two, recommend.
Is that that little piece that was left in the triangle?
It was.
Finally,
We
wow.
got it, yes.
Okay.
Item two, recommend authorizing to advertise and receive bids for our fence relocation there on the Tanner Williams Road project. That's right there in front of the Coast Guard property. Item three, recommend awarding the bid for Creola Streets resurfacing to John G. Walton for their bid. Item four, recommend assigning a contract for professional engineering, geotechnical engineering services for the Grand Farms Road West to Pope testing. Item five is assigning a contract for professional geotechnical engineering services for the Ralph Latham Road project. Item six, recommend assigning a contract for the professional geotechnical engineering services for the Miracle Road project to Pope testing. Item seven, recommend approving.
Miracle Road, is that having to do with the Miracle Park?
Yes, sir, they're off
Okay.
of Johnson Road. Item seven, recommend approving an agreement for relocation of waterline facilities with South Alabama Utilities on the Bohannon Road, Hubert Morris Road project. Item eight, recommend approving an agreement for relocation of gas line facilities with South Alabama Utilities on that same project. Item nine, recommend approve granting utility easement to Alabama Power for guy wire there on Halls Meadow Road for the soccer complex. Item 10, recommend adopting a resolution and accepting an agreement with Alabama Power to provide additional power for the luminaires at the new signalization at Schillinger's Road, Silver Pine Road, Lamplighter Drive. Item 11, recommend approving supplemental agreement number 2 with Rob Middleton Construction on one of our 2014 Page Go projects and increasing contract time by 30 days to compensate them for some unforeseen additional work. Item 12, recommend approve change order number 1 with Moody Electric on our Pappy project down there at the Jeremiah Denton Airport. Item 13, recommend approving preliminary and final plat of Irvington Oaks Estates Unit 2. That's in Commission District 3. Item 14, recommend approving preliminary and final plat of J and R Clark subdivision. And that's in Commission District 2. Commissioners, item 15 is a consider item. Consider waiving section 4.23 of the subdivision regs, which pertains to additional right-of-way requirements. and approving the preliminary and final plat of Cazalet subdivision, and that is in Commission District 3.
And the engineering does not have a problem with that?
We don't have a problem at all, Commissioner.
Okay.
This is one of those situations where the existing road was constructed way back in the 30s and 40s with a 60-foot right-of-way, and that road had just grown. The use of it had grown and grown and grown. So the functional classification of it is like a major collector arterial type road, which has in accord with the subdivision regs, has the requirement of a 100-foot right-of-way. If we took 100-foot, 50-foot off the center line, we would be at these people's front steps. So we're just asking them to reserve that area for future purchase if we ever do need to develop that road
All right, thank
in
you.
the future. Item 16, Commissioner, is holding a public hearing, so any citizen of the county shall be given the opportunity to present data, views, and arguments concerning the Mobile County Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance. And that is the item that Mr. Barkley spoke about earlier in this meeting, and we understand this will move over to the admin portion of the agenda. Item 17, recommend adopting the proposed Mobile County Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance referred to in item 16. Item 18, recommend approving right-of-way under easement agreement for track 23 on our Dawes Road project. And the Commissioners, we had an add-on item that we would like you to take action on Tuesday. It is recommend declaring Public Works Department equipment number 4089 as surplus and to dispose of it by lawful means. And that is it.
Good job, thank you.
Ready for 16 and 17?
Yes, sir, I was gonna say, we have here in front of us the new and improved, number 16 and 17.
Okay, are you ready for the motion?
Number 16, consider approve Third Amendment of the Infectious Disease and Pandemic Policy so as to rescind Level 2 payment of 1 1/10 times the regular rate of pay for days on which public contact occur for employees whose work responsibilities require public contact so as to provide commission discretion in determining employees/classification of employees and amount of increased pay for specific pandemic events and make other changes for the purpose of clarification effective May 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Number 17, consider/approve resolution designating temporary hazard/pandemic pay of 1 1/10 times the regular rate of pay for employees assigned to Metro Jail and Strickland Youth Center and facilities and maintenance employees assigned to the work at Metro Jail and Strickland Youth Center who cannot maintain 6-foot social distancing from the public, to include inmates and juveniles, but not other county employees, to be determined by their department head, to be effective May 22nd, 2020.
The 1/10, that's one that we need to correct the.
Yeah.
That's not 1 and 1. The way
1/1?
it needs to, I think they meant 1.1
Oh.
instead of 1/1.
Okay.
And does the administration, did you want to make any comments about why we are taking this step?
Well, Commissioner,
Or why you're recommending it?
we're recommending it because the employees at these sites are not able to adhere to or are not able to effectively be further away than 6 feet from the inmates and from also the juveniles at the Strickland Youth Center.
Yeah, and that we are experiencing an outbreak in the virus at the jail currently.
Okay. All right.
Definitely frontliners.
Yeah. So moved.
Second.
Okay, that all you got?
That's it.
All right. Remind everybody, Monday's a holiday. Tuesday, 9:30. Be right back here. Okay? Everyone take care. Have a good weekend.